In the last step, we implemented a REST API to retrieve the details of all users and a specific user. Let's now implement a REST API to add a specific user. How can we do that? To create a user, what we will need to do is to do a post request to /users. And we would want to send all the details of users in there. So what we'll need to do is to send a post to /users. So what we'll do is do a post mapping to /users. And to start off, let's say it does not return anything back. Public void. Let's call this create user. And let's go ahead and implement the empty method in here. Let's organize imports. Post mapping would now be imported in. Org Spring Framework web bind annotation. Post mapping is imported in. Now, what do we want to do in this specific method? This is the response back when we retrieve the details of a specific user. When we want to create a new user, we would want to be able to send in similar details. ID is not needed because ID is something which the application should create, but you should be able to send in the name and the birth date, and based on which you can actually create a user. So what we would want to be able to send in is something that has the same structure as user. And the content typically is sent as part of the request body. And the way we can accept that is by using request body annotation. If you then organize imports, you would see that org Spring Framework web bind annotation request body is coming in. This annotation is an annotation that indicates that a method parameter should be bound to the body of the web request. In the web request which we sent in, we will send a body along with it. And in the body of the request, we will have all the details of the user. And that would be mapped to the user bean. Let's see how that works right now. And once we receive the user details in here, we would want to be able to create the user. Let's go back to our user DAO service. In here, we would want to create a method, public user save user. Once you get the user details, what do you want to do? You want to say users dot add a specific user. Whenever we create a new user, we would want to be able to dynamically assign a ID to him. And therefore, what I would do is I would have a count in here. What I'll do is I'll create a variable in here, private static integer users count. At the start, it would be 3. So as soon as these, it should be int. So at the start, as soon as we create this static list, we would have 3 as the users count. Another approach would be to actually start with a count of 0, and I can actually do a ++ users count in here. So the first user would get 1, the second user would get 2, the third user would get 3. And similar to that, when we are creating a new user, I can say user dot set ID ++ users count. So the next user who is getting created will get an ID of 4, and so on and so forth. What we are providing in here is kind of a temporary implementation. Later, we'll actually have a sequence which is created in the database, and we'll be mapping to it using JPA and Hibernate. For now, we have the save method ready. So let's go ahead and say service.save user and save this out. Our post method is now ready. We would want to execute a request to this post method. How can we do that? The thing is, you cannot execute post requests directly from the browser. You need some kind of a REST API client to be able to fire post requests. One of the simplest REST API clients is Talend API Tester. Talend API Tester makes it easy to invoke, discover, and test HTTP and REST APIs. What we'll do is we'll make use of Talend API Tester as the REST API client in this specific course. So let's go ahead and download it and install it. So you can click it in there and you can say add to Chrome. And I would say add extension. So the Talend API tester is now installed. You'd be able to see a tick mark in here. So it's now part of our extensions. I can go in here and see this tick mark, Talend API tester. And if I would want to launch it up, I can click that. And this would launch up Talend API tester. So this is the Talend API tester free edition. And this Talend API tester was earlier called as RESTlet client. It makes it really, really easy to interact with APIs. Let's go ahead and use the free edition. Now what we'll do is we'll start with executing a GET request. So I'll go and pick up the URL for localhost 8080/user/2 and let's fire a request to it and say send. So over here, we are now able to get the details of a specific user. So we are firing a GET request to localhost 8080/user/2 and the body of the method is in here. And you can see the body of the response in here. ID2, name Eve, and the birth date. I can copy the body in here. So what I would do is I'd go ahead and copy the body of the response. And what I would want to do now is to send a post. I would want to create a new user. So I would want to send a post. If you want to create a new user, you need to send the request to not /user/2, but /users. This is very, very important. The URL to use is localhost 8080/users. This exactly matches what we have in here, /users. So we are sending a post to /users, post to /users. And what should be in the request body? The request body should contain the content of the user you'd want to create. We don't need to pass in the ID because the ID is dynamically assigned. So I'll remove the ID in here. So name, I'll say is Ravi. And I'll leave the birth date as is. You can see that the Talend API tester is automatically adding in a content type header. Content type is basically an indication of what is the type of the content of your body of the request. What we are sending in here is JSON. And JSON is represented in content type by saying application/JSON. This looks good. So let's go ahead and say send. And I get a response back 200. That's good. So let's minimize this so that I can clearly see the response. Now let's go back to our users URL and fire a request in. Localhost 8080/users 1, 2, 3. And we have Ravi coming in here. ID 4, Ravi, and the details of Ravi are coming in here. In this step, we created a REST API to add a new user. When we executed the post request, we got a response status of 200 back. If you look at the HTTP response status codes, 200 stands for success. When we are creating a resource, it is better to return a response status of created. How can we return a response status of created? And how can we further enhance the response which we are giving back in here? Let's explore that in the subsequent step.